What does it mean to be a vulnerable Christian man? Walking through life weak and powerless is not what Jesus had in mind for us. It's time to fight. It's time to get comfortable being uncomfortable. We are Obie, Shaun, Brandon, and Shane, and this is the Hello and welcome back to the Uncomfortable Truth. We're glad to have you this morning. This was about probably more than 10 years ago. Sitting in Sunday school class, maybe, goodness gracious, getting old, maybe 12, 14 years ago. Sitting in Sunday school, married class, we had coffee, breakfast. Somebody brought breakfast if you don't know what Sunday school is, it's a connect group now. We started calling it different things, but connect group before church starts, before big church starts. That's what we used to call it. Y'all go to big church?
I remember that.
That's in the sanctuary.
Yes.
Regular church service. Somebody would always bring breakfast to Sunday school. We'd eat breakfast, have our coffee. So got my coffee, mixed a little creamer in there, had a couple cups in Sunday school. We get into big church, and about 15 minutes into the service, which is right about the time the songs are ending, but we're still standing up, and I'm feeling something in my guts. And I turn to look at my wife, Courtney, and I'm like, babe, my stomach's hurting really bad. Really, really bad. He's like, you okay? I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Church is just starting. So I power through it and
Power through it.
Yeah, power through it, tighten everything up. Sit down. It comes again, and that second wave is worse than the first wave. And I'm like, if I don't get up, this pew's about to be stained. So I got up and go, and probably for the next 2 hours, I don't think I came back into church. I probably went and sat outside.
Well,
just dying.
There's nothing worse than that. I think any human being that's been alive more than about just a few years can attest to that. Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, that's for sure.
It's definitely uncomfortable. Next week when I get in Sunday school, I start looking at the stuff that, coffee preparations, and I look on the creamer bottle, and it's liquid creamer, which has not been in a fridge and has been sitting on the table and is expired by 3 or 4 months.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's no good.
Well, there you go. There's your culprit.
The culprit.
So you threw it away.
I poured it in my coffee again.
You didn't go and get revenge on your worst enemy at church or anything.
No, I didn't. No, he was fine. Welcome to the Uncomfortable Truth. Shaun, will you open us up in prayer?
Sure.
Please, sir?
Dear God, just thank you for just the gift of life. Thank you for our families, Lord. Thank you for our health. Thank you for this podcast. And Lord, just today is Shane's day, and just help Shane and just put the wisdom and the knowledge in his mind to reach our audience today. And Lord, just help us to have a great rest of the week, and help us to, Lord, just give us opportunities to tell others about your Son, Jesus Christ, and about eternal life and what that means, God. And just give us the opportunity to share the gospel and to recognize those opportunities. Lord, we love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I thought it was Obie's day.
Yeah, you thought wrong.
On the spot. So I'm going to read some verses. I'm going to give you a full passage, and then we'll scan through the verses. John 13, 1 through 17. This is about Jesus washing his disciples' feet. It's before the Passover celebration, and they're about to eat dinner, and he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a bowl. And then he began to wash the disciples' feet.
This was right before he was crucified.
Right. Jesus knew what was coming. So Peter, being Peter, I love Simon Peter. Like, just a daggum fireball, If you've watched what's the show?
Chosen.
The Chosen. Yeah. It really kind of brings that to light and illustrates Peter maybe more than we could have understood before. So
right.
If you haven't watched The Chosen, watch The Chosen. It's an awesome show. So Peter's like, Lord, and I can just imagine what's going through his head, like, Jesus, you are the man. Like, we follow you, Bubba. Like, it's not the other way around. We love you. You're not supposed to be down here washing my feet or their feet. Right. We're supposed to be washing your feet. And then Jesus said, you don't understand now, but someday you will. You ever told your kids that?
Yes.
No doubt. Many times, yeah.
There's no way you can understand now, but one day when you have kids, you're going to get it. He says, unless I wash you, you won't belong to me. So skipping down to verse 12, after washing their feet, he put his robe on again, sat down, and said, do you understand what I was doing? You call me a teacher and Lord, and you're right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash others' feet. I've given you an example to follow. Do as I have done. I tell you the truth. Slaves are not greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them. So many lessons to learn in that. I was reading a book. I was actually reading a book, Shaun.
There we go. We can read too.
I can't. It's amazing when you actually try to do it. You can read. Shaun talked about this book last episode. So if you haven't seen last episode or listened to it, go back. Talks about Tim Tebow. This is the day, and a lot of good stuff in there. The book I'm reading right now is called Capital Gains. The subtitle. I love the subtitle of that book. It's smart stuff I learned, smart things I learned while doing stupid stuff. This is Chip Gaines.
Okay.
Chip and Joanna Gaines, Magnolia Farms, Magnolia Market.
Smart things I've learned by doing stupid stuff.
That's exactly right.
Cool.
I was reading that book the other day, and I get on kicks. I'll just read like 60 or 70 pages at a time, and then I'll put it down for a week, and then I
watched their I Am Second video the other day, Chip and Joanna Gaines.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's solid.
Watch it. Okay.
Solid. Really good.
Check that out, guys. So I'm reading this book, and Courtney comes in and is like, you're really into that book? I said, yeah. And it's like, I said, I feel like this dude wrote my story. Like, just the way that he acts and is, I feel really related to him. Yes, very much so. Coffee. But one of the things they've got, they started from humble beginnings and just have worked their way up to where they are now by the Lord's grace. And one of the things that he talks about in that book that really stood out to me is he's a grinder. He's a worker. But he understands, like, he's a businessman too. He said that from where we started out at, as our business started to grow, they're in this like 900 to 1,000 square foot office. It may be a little bit bigger than that, but he said it wasn't big at all. Office / showroom. So I'm imagining, he actually drew a picture out in the book. The showroom was probably 600 square feet of that. So they had 300 square feet for like 4 or 5, maybe 6 offices. And they were busting at the seams. And he said he loves thinking about those old days because everybody just did what they needed to do to make the business go. It did not matter. He said they were walking through the halls. They had offices that are literally like 28 square feet. You're walking through the halls, there's boxes everywhere. There's peanut packaging everywhere. Just mess surrounding everything. He said you step on them. At one point they only had one bathroom in that place, and they had converted their lot behind that place to have just massive storage tents to store all their inventory. Mm-hmm. So they might have 20 workers outside, 6 or 7 in the offices inside in the showroom, and 1 bathroom.
Wow.
They could not let customers go to the bathroom.
Those are my favorite stories. I mean, that's like, for me, that is like true entrepreneurship.
Yep.
From the grind level of, I started off blue collar, started this company. We didn't have any money.
Nothing.
And that for me, personally, that those are the people from a business standpoint that I have the most respect for, because very, very, very few people in this world have what it takes to grind through that. They just don't. They're just not willing to implement and persevere in light of only having this small little space to work inside of,
Yep.
whether it's their garage or their home or, this only place on the south side of, wherever that they could afford. And so, yeah, that's such an inspiring thing to me.
Man, it's cool because if you have the mindset, if you have the wrong mindset and you look at people like them, you say, they got it made, But every super successful business person or human being, there's always moments, and there's usually a 3 to 10 year period that they just hustled. It didn't just things like that don't just come overnight.
No.
But as the average consumer, we see, oh, they made it big. Look at them; they're on TV. They're doing. They got this Magnolia
A lot
market.
of people assume that it was given to them.
Right. So, anyways, during that whole process, he said that everybody was on the same page. And when he came in to the office and was working at the office, and I'm not quoting his book directly, but basically, he said if the bathroom needed to be cleaned, I would do it, or somebody else that worked in that office would do it. We didn't have a cleaning lady. Somebody would clean the bathroom. And he said that pretty much the day that I feel like I'm too good to clean a bathroom is a day that I need to check myself and get my priorities straight.
Right.
And I just thought, man, that's good. And I think if we're trying to be humble and humble ourselves, we all need to view everything that we do with the lens of serving others in business, in life, in our Christian walk, especially with our families. And it's easy to get away from that feeling of needing to humble ourselves in order to serve the people around us. Because as we start to progress in our lives, we think, well, I've done that before. I'm not doing it anymore. Or like, just make my kids do it. And Jesus here gives us this example. I was taught this example a couple of days ago. I'd asked my kids, oh, buddy, I'm going to get fired up. I'm not going to get fired up. I'd asked my kids on our little private drive, it's an asphalt drive, and we have potholes everywhere. They're really bad. And I'd ask my kids on Sunday to go get some rocks from behind the house and just fill the potholes in for now. It's not going to last very long, but it'll make it better for a little while. They didn't want to do it on Sunday, so that's fine. You guys hang out, swim, do whatever you want to do, but make sure it gets done tomorrow. So, and that's all it said. It's like, guys, make sure this gets done.
Sure. And all these kids are out for school. They're out for summer right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have 3 kids, and they're all perfectly capable of doing something like that. We have a side-by-side with a dump bed. Like, you get to ride the side-by-side, too. So Courtney and I worked our tails off on Monday. We were gone from probably 7 a.m. that morning. She got home probably at 10 o'clock, and I got home probably at midnight, working on trying to get a house ready. And now when I drive down that driveway at midnight, and that first pothole I hit, I was like, them little jokers didn't do it. So I get my phone out, and I'm exhausted, man. I get my phone out, and I'm, making a list. Now that you didn't do this one thing, now we're going to fill the potholes. We're going to weed all the flower beds. We're going to put mulch in the flower beds. We're going to do all the laundry. We're going to clean our rooms, and there's about 6 or 7 other things on that list.
Yeah. The list just got longer.
Oh, it got long, Bubba. And I texted that to my daughter that night. She's the only one who has a cell phone, and said, make sure that all these things get done tomorrow. There will be no fun activities, period. Swimming in the pool. Like, you barely get to eat. You're not going to workouts tomorrow, which she loves. You will not, none of you kids will leave this house. If this takes you 4 days, you're not leaving. If it takes you 7 days, you're not going to the lake with your grandma and grandpa. So they get out the next morning. I'm gone early. I wake them up, let them know the bad news. I come back home that night. And to their credit, most of the stuff was done.
Yeah.
But they were in the house on electronics when I got home when all of the stuff was not done. So here we go. What I learned in that moment was that, again, I was tired. It was probably 7 o'clock when I got home. But the weeds had not been pulled and the mulch had not been put in the beds. And I could have just said, and I wanted to, get out there and do that. But we started working, and I worked with them. And I didn't want to, but I needed to show them an example and be humbled for them, even though they were being taught a lesson.
Right.
That's not the lesson that I wanted to teach them. I wanted them to just do it. So I'm passing it to you guys. Is there a recent time where you've been humbled or humbled yourself in order to shine the light of Jesus through you to somebody else? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this right now. I know the listeners or viewers, they may not know that my wife and I we own a gym. It's a Snap Fitness, which is a chain, and we are franchisees, I guess is how you say it, of a gym in White Oak. And ever since we took over the gym, it was a failing gym. It was not rocking and rolling, and it was doing horrible. And since we've taken over that gym, we've been very fortunate and blessed, and give God all the glory to be able to get the gym in the black, so to speak. It's not losing money anymore, and it has started making a little bit of money. And the entire time, I have made a pact. Basically, my wife and I kind of made a pact with ourselves that we're not going to hire anybody until we can get this thing really healthy, right? And so this entire time, I probably spend 5 to 10 hours a week on average. Well, that involves me involving my kids, right? And it doesn't have to, but I want my kids to get up there and clean.
Heck yeah.
At least a couple of days a week, my kids are cleaning the gym, but there's lots of times I have to clean the gym too. And I always joke and say, a lot of my members, they don't know I'm the owner. They think I might be the janitor because
Yeah.
because I'm spot vacuuming. I'm in there with the toilet brush cleaning the toilet. I'll do whatever.
Hey, can you move that dumbbell? I need a vacuum under that thing.
And but it's also very humbling. It's humbling, and there's been several times I'm like, hey, London, this is my youngest daughter. Hey, hop in the truck. We're going to clean the gym, and I'll help her. But at the same time, she's over there, and I'm like, you missed that spot. We need to mop that up, or we need to clean the bathrooms, or you got to get this toilet brush and do this sometimes. And it's and it's not fun, but it's very humbling. And I've been a business owner before I got into the insurance industry 4 years ago for 20 years. For the last 20 years, I'm 45 years old. Started a company at the age of 25, and I can't tell you how many times, talking about Chip and Joanna Gaines, we literally started in a garage. We had nothing, no money. The first trade show we went to, we borrowed money from my wife, who had a little bit of money in savings. And, it was just a very humbling experience. And I think it's so important, as you are blessed by God, to continue to walk in humility, and who better to than the story of Jesus washing the disciples' feet. To mimic that. I mean, he led the way by giving us the example of how we should continue to carry ourselves, no matter how successful or unsuccessful. Humility, you can just. People are drawn to people who walk in humility, and I don't think there's any better way to show people love, and to show people and to wash away the pride that's in the room, than to ooze humility. And I try to live that way, and I try to lead by example for my children. And don't get me wrong, I fail daily, but I really do. There's lots of times I do I make it happen whenever it comes to shining, or I guess oozing humility. I mean, that almost sounds gross, but you know what I'm saying?
When you talk about
it's
humility.
It's just important it's so important to just show humility. I mean, it just really is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. If it seems like it's more often, and it seems like it's the case with you guys too. It seems like our kids is where, I think we recognize our humility in those moments because we're so it's against our nature. In those moments, especially with our kids.
You're intentionally fighting our non-humility.
Exactly. You're intentionally fighting, by gosh.
Because they help you get to that point of by gosh.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. And so, you naturally recognize those moments where you had to take a step back because you wanted to take 10 steps forward and just get them, and so I know what you mean, Shane. I noticed those moments with my daughter, who will be 12 next month, more so than with my little guy that just turned 6.
Yeah. That's the age I feel like when you start noticing the most.
Yeah. And it's it's a difficult thing. My wife, and again, I've been in leadership positions most of my adult life. I'm 37 years old. Basically for 15 years, I've been in some sort of a leadership position in my career. And part of being a leader, part of being a good leader is knowing when to delegate and when to not delegate things. I mean, I think any good leader would argue that.
That's good.
And so, that being said, there's a time to delegate cleaning the toilet, and there's a time to clean the toilet. There's a time to delegate mopping the floor, and there's a time to mop the floor. And early on in your career, I would argue it's very important that anybody that may be an employee or something, they understand that, what, Shaun, Obie, and Shane will mop the floor whenever it needs mopping. It's very important that, and again, we never want to get to a point where we feel
too good.
Right.
Yeah. Or do those things for recognition.
Exactly. Robbie Schultz, he's a good friend of ours that owns a big thriving business here, in East Texas.
Talk about Bear Creek for a second. Let's give him a shout out.
Yeah,
he needs
Bear Creek.
He don't need it, but
he's got it all. He's doing fantastic. God has blessed his business in such an amazing way. But one of the first things he says, or when you walk in, you're probably going to see Robbie serving in some capacity, in a standpoint that you wouldn't really think he would be serving in. He's running. He might be a runner going to get some food, or he might be mopping the floors.
I've seen him mopping the floors. I've seen him washing dishes.
Yeah, and that's
and talking to clients and customers walking in.
It's just such a cool thing. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just mopping the floors over here, Obie. That's what I do." And
but he stopped. Right.
That's right.
I think a part of being a good leader and being a humble leader and doing those things is like when we do those things that are humbling, it's also an opportunity to be intentional, because we have relationships, and that's the closest thing that we can kind of personal relationships. The closest thing that we can mimic to our relationship with God. And so when we're if we're cleaning the bathroom with somebody else, like the intentionality is just as important as humbling ourselves to doing that task.
Right.
Robbie always talks about how he feels like that the generation coming up, the young kids, is missing the boat on understanding what it means to work hard and to walk in humility. And there's lots of times that I've seen it 20 times where Robbie will have like a young kid following him around, and he's showing them, this is how you mop. This is how you wash dish. Hey, Shay, hey, pick up that tray. We're going over here, and so he does a really great job of leading in the trenches, and that's pretty awesome.
Well, and I'm preaching to myself here, but I will say that for me, I find myself being more intentional about doing that in my career with my employees, my staff, trying to be that guy who humbles themselves with them. And I miss the boat a lot of times doing it in my home and with my kids, and which is backwards, totally backwards. I need to flip that, or I need to do it. I need to give the same attention to both. And so I'm quick to maybe delegate something to my 12-year-old because in my mind, I'm thinking she needs this, Like I remember growing up, Dad, go weed eat the yard, go yard, telling me the things that I needed to go do. And of course, Dad led by example. He worked his tail end off our entire lives. And so looking back now, but then I was thinking, I don't want to go weed eat,
Dude, it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot outside, and I think my wife sometimes calls me a professional delegator, she's like, you just delegate everything. And I'm like, we got to work together,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a team.
This is what you're going to do.
Yeah, I don't do that. I'm smarter than I look. But anyway, I would just encourage our listeners to, we're just talking about being humble today. I feel like that's the premise of this podcast. And so I would say, don't miss the boat at home. Don't work to just mop the floors at the office and maybe at your business.
It always starts at home first, right?
Yeah. Let's make sure that we're taking the mop from mom or from the kids, and doing that stuff there as well.
I've always heard from just mentors over the years and people that I study, like just high achievers. If you don't have your household in order, it's really, 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 really difficult to be a great leader in your business. And, it starts like, I really like that point, Obie. It really starts with your household. Mm-hmm. It really starts at home. And I believe 1,000% that's the way God, intended. And then everything else kind of falls into place.
A smart guy once told me that if you're having a hard time with how to treat your kids, if you're a business owner, treat them like you would treat your employees, as long as you treat your employees good.
Yeah.
We've got a guy that works for us right now on our lawn care crew that mowed a yard the other day and pretty much destroyed it. And I don't know how it happened, but anyways, he didn't get fired. He got taught and shown, and we talked to him. But if my kids
wanted to fire him,
right? I wanted to. If my kids did that after I'd spent 3 months teaching them how to mow a yard, then my first instinct would be like, "What the heck are you doing? You know how to do this right? Get your crap together." So having that patience,
can't fire your kids.
No, you can't fire your kids. So we better teach them then, right?
Yeah.
And I think the last thing, the point I wanted to make, and we mentioned this earlier, was in this story with Jesus where he's washing his disciples' feet, he knew that he was about to die, like days away. This was important enough that he wanted to make sure that his disciples understood it and were able to carry it forward, because he knew that he wasn't going to be on this earth physically anymore. If, as humans, if we know that we're about to die, we're going to go to the most important stuff to tell the people that we love. we're in it. First, I love you. If there's anything I can tell you before I go, it's this. Like last words. How, like that to you or me, those would be the most important words that we probably ever said. And I take that from this word as well, is that this was really high on Jesus's radar. And so it should be really high on our radar too.
Absolutely. I like that.
Good stuff, man.
All right.
Humility.
Go out and be humble. Serve somebody today. Man, it fills you up too. Goodness gracious.
It really does.
Man, it's hard to do, but
purpose driven.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us today. If you would hit that like, share, subscribe buttons, help us reach more people for Jesus. If you want to email us, if you have any prayer requests or topic suggestions, realuncomfortabletruth@gmail.com. Go out and kick the day in the face, and we'll catch you on the next one.